If you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, you've probably at least heard of regular pets, R-list/enemy compendiums. And I've always had an idea of doing at least one of those types of videos, but never fully had an idea of what game to pick. Until I remembered that Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction has a skill point for making just about every NPC dance with the Groovatron, and then I got an idea. I know there's already a guide on YouTube, which I am heavily referencing for this, but I thought this would be a fun, ambitious idea for me to tackle, and getting any kind of interesting excuse to talk about Ratchet and Clank is something I'll take every time I can. How this is going to work is that I'll talk about the NPCs as soon as you see them, who are missable entirely, and put every planet where they appear on screen, as well as just talk about them in general. You good? Alright, let's start. Starting off, we have the various flavors of Dropit Sushi. First, we have a ground unit with 2 claws that'll walk up and try to attack you, very ineffectively at that. Could you maybe try a little bit harder, man? This next fact also goes for all Dropits, in that once they run out of health, their mechs will explode and you can stop on them for a bit of extra bolts. I'm fairly certain these count for everybody dance now too, so make sure you get at least one of these just to be safe. Then there's the Trooper variant, which has them use a Gatling gun instead. Much more effective. There's also an air variant of the Trooper, which does count separately for everybody dance now. Now we have 2 different versions of the airship Dropits, the Bomber and the Laser, both having pretty self-explanatory functions. Finally, taking a break from fish, we have the Tesla drones. These police-looking robots will walk up to you and then try to tase you. These guys are pretty annoying, if I do say so myself. All of these guys I've just mentioned recur and can be found in several different planets such as Mukau or Kortog. They're fairly common enemies. I should also mention that there are a special type of consumer bot here that doesn't appear anywhere else in the game, but they barely count and don't have a dance animation, so yeah. Crash landing onto Kabalia, we start off with the Corellian Swarmers. They simply walk up and try to bite you in large groups. Then we have the older brother of these things, the Corellian Centipede, which is vomit to add onto the things you're running away from. And these things should absolutely be killed with fire. Now we have our first mini-boss fight, and in first entirely missable dance NPC, the Basilisk Leviathan. These only spawn in limited quantities on both Kabalia and the Apogee space station, so make sure you use your Groovatron before you kill all of them. Or else it's just going to be a restart. These things will drop electric spheres, move closer to bite you, and shoot energy balls out of its mouth. Now then, are you tired of people trying to kill you? Well, let's take a break from those guys then. First off, there's a few different consumer bots, medium, large, and damage, who just wander about the area. Or just sit there in the case of the damaged ones. There is a small version, but there's none here currently. Then there's the Grommet weapons, devices, and armor vendors. They sell you exactly what they tell you. Good thing too, otherwise part of the plot of this game would involve stewing. These 3 will appear in just about every planet somewhere, selling more as the game goes on. And finally, ending this non-hostile streak, we have the Smuggler, also known as Senor Plot Convenience. He'll sell you necessary items whenever he appears, which is here, the Nundak Asteroid Ring, and Sargasso. And finally, to end off Kabalia, we have the Tumvoids or Gel Eaters. They'll try and eat any gel blocks you place down with the Gelinator, and you gotta either be quick or swat them away. As far as I know, the only way you can get rid of them for good is to hit them into the Gel River. It'll take a while, but you can do it. First is back on the menu, boys, because we got more Dropits to talk about. First, we have the shield variants of the Claw Users. They're dealt with by using certain weapons like the Lightning Ravager to get by it, or the Shard Reaper to destroy it. Next, we have the Cyclo Cannon, which are basically the Dropit version of Axel from Twisted Metal. They have a lot of health and shoot a lot of bullets. These things will mess you up if you're not careful. Other than those 2, there's not really anything else. Now for Festoon's first visit, all of these enemies and this version of the planet will not be available anymore after you beat Iglak, so make sure to get the dances here while you can. The enemies on this basically dead planet are Nanophytes, having 2 different variants. The first is the Clubber, which will run up and attack you, along with certain spawners that will shoot them out as long as you haven't destroyed them. Then there's the Bomber variant, which has much more health and throws bombs with a fairly decent blast radius. And that's it for the first visit to Festoon. Like I said, this is a pretty dang dead planet. There certainly was a lot of people who showed up for the Imperial Fight Festival, both friendly and not. First off, there's the Hug Me Tight Nanny Bot. No, I am not kidding. These things will walk up to you and do a clap to hurt you. And they also have melee immunity, as if you get close enough to them at all, you will get electrocuted. While that's the only new foe out in the streets, the Fight Festival does have a few others exclusive. We have the Pallet Drone, who will shoot a few bullets, and for their melee counterparts we have the Terraclon Gladiators. These things are really tough in large groups. They have really good range on their attack. Then we have the Argonoid. They shoot a blast out of their backpack thingies, and where the blast is going to land will be shown onto the target. And last but certainly not least for the small fry, we have the Detanoid, or the Bomb Bot. These guys will float close to you and try to blow themselves up once they got close enough. Gotta be quick with these guys. Okay, it's finally time for a real boss fight. Give it up for Crushdo. This absolute unit has 4 main attacks. Shooting his Gatling gun arm, shooting missiles out of his other arm, and then trying to blow you into the lava, as well as trying to suck you into his mouth and chew on you. Once you beat him for the first time, you also get the helipods. There's also a match where you have to fight him again, and beat him in under a minute. There are 2 other versions of this fight, but we'll get to that in a second. After Sargasso, another boss can be fought in the Imperial Fight Festival. The energy creature thingy known as Zorthan. His attacks are throwing energy balls to sand on the ground and multiply a few times, shooting lasers out of his eye that move to your position you gotta jump over, and spinning around like a record baby to try and physically attack you. He's also one of those enemies that deals touch damage. Plus, not only does he have a time match against him like Crushdo, this time being 2 minutes, he also has a tag team match with both him and Crushdo, not to mention appearing in the final challenge alongside Crushdo again. And with that, Mukau is all done. This is probably going to be the longest segment of the entire video. Now for something that isn't a planet, the space station / asteroid ring. And while there aren't any new enemies on the outside, on the inside there are 2. But you don't see them after this, so again, make sure you have Groovatrons if you don't have the golden one yet. First off is the Thermo Splitter. Wow, I almost forgot these things only appeared once in this game, especially considering how they were used in the Argonian Battleplex. Anyways, these guys will slowly float towards you, and they'll do touch damage if they're close enough. Fairly easy to deal with. Next up is the fusion turret. These guys will pop out of certain places and start continuously shooting until you destroy them. They do a lot of damage and have a good amount of health, so make sure to be careful. Also yes, they are affected by the Groovatron. And we're done here just like that. Not a whole lot here. Okay, this is the very first pirate planet, so we have a lot of ground to cover, so just bear with me for a second here. First off, there are multiple different types of pirates. They've got 3 body types. One where they have insect-like heads and shoulder pads. Weird, but maybe he's trying out to be the new Ant-Man. Then we got a more skull-like head with a spring-shaped torso, which cannot be good for you. And the ones that value dignity and wear vests. Now for the weapons, they have 2 different weapons with a lot of variants on the melee weapon. We have the cutlass, the axe, the regular sword, the club, and the broadsword. And we've also got a pistol user, which acts as the ranged attacker of the group. All these besides the pistol can also have shields like the Drophids too. I have no idea what actually gets you the dance you need for everybody dance now, so when in doubt, groove out whenever you can. Now for a much more different pirate, we have the Cotton Swab, who is essentially the pirate version of the nanny bot we talked about earlier. They'll walk up and swipe at you, and they have touch damage. Finally, at the end of the pirate family, we have good old Seamus McSoggy Britches, also known as the Pirate Rogue. This big boy will shoot cannonballs, and bombs that will blow up after a short amount of time, along with having a melee attack if you get close enough. And that's pretty much it. Surprisingly though, despite being a mini-boss, he actually isn't entirely missable at a certain point in the game. Just go back to the Creeley Comet, and there'll be another one waiting for you every time. Also, if you shoot them while they're dancing, they'll actually snap out of it. I'm assuming this is because they have a set amount of time for how long the dance animation goes, unlike all the others that have a looping animation. Now that we're out of the realm of Peg Legs and Jack Sparrow for a bit, we can mention the local wildlife, Thwogs. Not only do they look terrifying, but they can also fly. So that's a double dose of never put me in the same room as this thing. They'll fly up to you and bite, and also hang upside down and roll like bats when they're not aggroed. And now we're all done with this. I never want to hear ARG again after this. Time for what's probably the worst vacation spot out of all of these, Sans the Pirate and Kerchu, rank and 5. To start off with, this is your first opportunity to get Kronk and Zephyr. There are a few other times you can get them, but this is your first one, so if you have terrible memory like me, probably best to get them as soon as you can. Now we also have more souped-up versions of the Drophids, both the Troopers, both the Defenders, and the Air Trooper versions. Then there's the Laser and Bomber gunships, which are actually missable, so yeah, make sure you get these. And also missable is the Cyclo Cannon V2. This is one of the reasons why you should probably get the Golden Groovatron as quick as you can. Also, at the spot where you can find the Rhino Blueprint piece, we have the V2 Defender with a claw instead of a gun. And finally, before we move on to Sargasso, the small consumer bot finally appears, so make sure to get him. Starting off this swampy planet, we have the Grunthor. These are like Leviathans in that they only appear once and give you souls to trade for bolts, so make sure you get one before they're all gone. Then for the small grunts, we have the Anthropods, which are the melee attackers, and the Grub Snackers for the long-range attackers. This is also where we get introduced to the Kerchu with Pyro Guard. These will shoot out fireballs, and the Roller, which as you'd expect, holds on the ground to run you over. From one fairly quick segment to another, it's the Creeley Comet. First off, there's no outright new pirate variants, but there is a Gunner, which mans a turret, and has no weapon outside of that, and there's a Hanging Rogue about midway through the level. Both of these guys have new dance animations, so probably best to get those. Also, there's more pirate types with weapons that you didn't see before, so again, best to just screw away whenever you can. On to Zordium Prison, we have the cloak versions of the Drophet Sentries, these turret versions of the Enforcers that pop out once you step into the red spotlights. After that, you can throw your Rubicon. Then we start seeing the V2 versions of the Drophids. Here we have the Sentry with both claws, the air variant of the Trooper, and the main Enforcer. Technically, there is no V1 Enforcer, but it does look like the V2 Drophet, so what the heck, we'll put in here anyways. Finally, for the enemies, we have the cloaked versions of the Drophet Gunners. Lastly, there's the first opportunity to Rubicon Talon after you break her out and on the elevator. Again, just like with Kronk and Zephyr, best to get this done now if your memory sucks. She does also appear on Report or the Fast Tune Revisit. Now for a bunch of repeats, since all the new enemies are the Elite Pirates. Red color versions of the same pirates you've seen twice at this point. Again, I have no idea how many variants these guys actually count, so just eat the Groovachon whenever you can. Whether it's the Gunner, the Pistol User, the Melee Users, the Melee and Shield Users, the Swab, just throw to make sure you don't miss anything. And now for the real interesting part, a boss fight. The Kerchu Guardian. This thing chases you through a grind rail segment, and then once you're done, it's time to fight. Your attacks are fairly simple, hitting the ceiling you're standing on to make a shockwave, shooting missiles that will stick to the ground and blow up, and punching the side of the ceiling to destroy it, making you stand right at its treads. Once you're on real ground, it can send out rollers, send out one of its wrecking ball hands which makes a shockwave, and also shoot more missiles. And that's all she wrote for Jacindu. And now it's Pirate Time 2, Electric Boogaloo. You've got more variants of the Elite Pirates, the Elite Rogue, and a hanging version of the Elite Rogue. Once again, throw and pray you don't miss anything. Now it's boss time. We have Captain Slag. Probably one of the most fitting names for a pirate. His main attack is throwing spinning blue hooks that home in on you, and they're also meant to be shot to get him off your back. He can also burp out flames by drinking grog, smack you with his normal hand if you're close enough, and swing a hammer down to make a shockwave. At certain points he can also jump on top of the ship cabin and summon some more pirates. Also sometimes he'll move to another part of the arena. One more thing before the end of the level, right before you leave, you need to make sure you get Rusty P with the Groovachon. After this fight is the only time you will ever see P, and he will disappear once you leave the planet. Real dick move, Insomniac. And now we're all done with pirates until the sequel. Thank goodness. It's time for the final round of Drophids. You've got V3 versions of several types of Drophids, shield or no shield, and the air troopers, a V3 Enforcer, and a special unique Enforcer that doesn't respawn, the Obsidian Enforcer, appearing both here and on Iglac twice each. Make sure you don't miss this one. Now finally we made it to the games that the game is hyped up. The Craggy Mites. The ranged attacker is called a Hunter, and can both shoot and teleport. Then there's the Cragpools, who are basically like the Corellian Swarmers of the Cragmites. These can be found on their own, and also from any killed hunters or warriors. Speaking of the warriors, they will also teleport, and shoot 3 shots at the same time. These guys are beefy boys and can take a lot of damage, so be careful. And that's the last of the new enemies. Oh, that also means I don't have to talk about it, Black. Dang, I had a joke about that sounding more like someone choking than a planet. Before we end this off, there is one more creature that you can find besides the final boss. That will be the penguin that appears after you use the Transmorpher device, because yes, they do count for Everybody Dance now. If you've made just about every NPC I've mentioned dance, aside from the missable boss fights, you should have Everybody Dance now at this point. And now, even though there's nothing left for Everybody Dance now, let's be thorough. It's time to talk about Percival Tachyon and his Big Mech.
Do you think maybe he's compensating for something?
In the first phase, you can shoot lasers and also send out spider bots to blow up in your face. Then in the second phase, you can jump onto other bits of the stage, which will also send out a shockwave. There's a lot of shockwaves in this series now that I think about it. And also grab asteroids to throw at you. Finally, you can shoot an absolute buttload of missiles that will fall and blow up the ground while shooting a big laser. You'll do this move a lot when low on health. And that, people, is the last of the NPCs I need to cover. We are done. This was certainly an undertaking, and I'm happy to be done. Oh yeah, Zoni, they exist, I don't really care.